Happy Tuesday, everyone. Thank you for joining me. My name is Alyssa Thomas from Penguin and Fish, where we make lovely and quirky hand embroidery kits. And I am here every weeknight at 8:30 p.m. Central Time, and it's an hour's worth of time where we can relax and craft and we can work on a project together from beginning to end. We're going to continue on my Splendid sampler quilt tonight. So we started this in 2016 on Valentine's Day, and I've been working on it since. It's been in my unfinished project bin for a little while, and we brought it out 2 Fridays ago, and I could not put it away again. I just couldn't get it back into that case. It needs to get done. So we quilted the border for it. That's all I had to do yet, and now we are going to put on the binding. So after we sew on this binding, then all I have to do yet is hand stitch it to the back. I'm gonna it's the type of binding where you sew on to one side and you flip it around the edge and then hand stitch on the rest. I like that hand stitching part. I could just machine sew the whole thing, but I really do like that hand stitching part. I think that it'll be a nice way to end this project. So we are getting so close to having the Splendid sampler finished. So tonight, sewing on the binding. So if you haven't done a binding before, we will go through that process of getting the nice mitered corners and everything. So, all right, I'm gonna flip you around. We'll get started tonight. Thanks for joining tonight, everyone. Okay, here we are. Oop, man, things are falling apart here a little bit. Okay, so here is the border of the quilt. This is actually the bottom of the quilt. I kind of like starting the binding in the lower right-hand corner. The lower right-hand corner of things, like if you're looking at a painting or something, that's the least looked at corner typically. So I like having kind of starting, I'm not starting right at the corner, I'm just kind of on that lower edge. So we've made our binding already. I did a 2.5 inch, I believe 2.5 inch binding, and we've pressed it in half. So, you know, a really, really long strip. Here's the strip rolled underneath here. And we have the raw edge here. That's that edge where it's the raw edge of the fabric, and then the fold here. So we're going to match the raw edge up with the raw edge of the quilt. We trimmed this quilt yesterday so that all the layers, the back, the batting, and the front are all the same, at the same edge there. So I'm going to start sewing, but I'm going to leave like a good, about, I don't know, at least a foot worth. I like doing a little extra here because I can always trim it later, and sometimes you need a little bit extra. So I have about a little over a foot maybe, and I'm going to lay that, not all the way at the edge, but just kind of a little ways in there. And then I'm just going to pick a place to start sewing, and I'm going to just, let's just choose about right there. Yeah, so I'm about a little over a foot down, and you don't always have to do that much, but I do find that later, the more slack you have, the easier it's going to be. So, all right, I'm going to get down here to sewing, and we are just going to use our 1/4 inch seam allowance. And I still have the walking foot on. And all it is my edge matched up there. Oh, let's pop the shoe off. Can't sew with, there we go, can't sew with a shoe on. All right, so I'm gonna start with just a back tack. So just stitching one or two stitches forward, and then reverse back over those stitches, and then forward again. That's kind of like tying a knot, so this will stay in place. And we are just going to go along this edge. And we're going to go around the whole quilt, but we got to do some special things when it comes to the corners. So stay tuned for that. Oh, the cartoon. I didn't draw it. That wasn't my cartoon, Gretchen, but I did actually order that shirt. Someone else posted on Facebook today. So I bought this shirt today that is a little cartoon illustration of Jean-Luc Picard and number 2. I forget his name now. I used to watch Star Trek with my dad, Star Trek The Next Generation. My dad always watched it when we were little, so I watched a lot of that. But so it's cartoons of those two, and the Captain Picard is holding a sewing machine, and he is saying, "Make it so," S-E-W. So on the show all the time, he would tell everyone he'd have a plan, and then he'd tell whoever to make it so. So he's holding a sewing machine, saying, "Make it so," like it's not working. I thought it was super cute, and so I ordered a slouchy tee of it. So we'll see how that works out. It's actually kind of a neat site. I got it from, oh gosh, I think it's called TeePublic. But it's a place where you can put your own designs up there and order t-shirts out of it. And I've done it before with Society 6 is another company that does that. But this place had better options for like women's shirts and sizes and stuff. So I wanted this shirt because it was just too funny. And then I also wanted to just check out the site because I could see maybe putting up some fun little designs, like little llama or hedgehog t-shirts or something. Thought might be kind of fun. So we're giving it a little test, and I'm getting a t-shirt out of it. But yeah, I posted a picture of it over in the on the Penguin and Fish page today. I thought it was cute. I also ordered some new postcards and some new stickers. So all my some new orders coming up soon will have some new postcards and stickers in them. So I'm excited for that. So it was like an online ordering day today. Hello from New Jersey, Jane. So I'm using the Grip It here just to help move things along. It's a little difficult to help the fabric along with just my hand. I have to put a lot of pressure on it. This has the little rubber grips at the bottom. That way I can just kind of gently hold the fabric and still help it move along. So presumably this binding is long enough. This binding was done when we worked on this before we had a huge break from working on it. So I'm guessing we measured at that time because I'm just going with it now. Oh, Gretchen, that's nice. Yep, I try and keep the treats changing up every once in a while that come in the packages. All right, so here's my little roll. I'm just kind of unrolling it from here as I go. We are almost to that first corner. Ugh, getting all the bulk of the quilt up on the table here. Get the layers together again here. I need to keep all three layers of the quilt, and then plus the binding. Need to keep that together. Oh, it feels good to be this far on this quilt. It's kind of inspiring me to get my jean quilt done as well. That's another quilt that's been sitting around for ages, way longer than this quilt. That quilt's been sitting around for a decade. Not sitting around, but been being worked on for about a decade. And I'm hand tying that one with wool yarn, and that's just gotta wrap up too. So I just have to finish hand tying. It'll take a while yet to do that, and then I gotta make a binding for that too. But man, I'm itching to get that one done too. No more of these long-term projects. I want them done, done, done. I'm getting sick of them sitting around. I need them out of here. All right, we are coming up to this corner. Ooh, I should have measured. A lot of times, oh, I didn't do that step. One step that you can do is lay out the binding beforehand, because you don't really want a seam to be right at the corner. Luckily, we missed the corner by a little, but I don't know, really, yeah, I don't typically want this extra bulk at the corner, so we messed up a little bit there, but oh well. So yeah, so before you start the binding, it's always good to kind of lay out the quilt and kind of generally put the quilt border around, and then just to make sure you're far away from all these joins, so oh well. The grippers, they are from Sewing Mates, so sewingmates.com, and I think if you go to accessories or something like that, then Grippets will pop up there. But yeah, I'm in love with them. They also sell them occasionally on Massdrop, but I don't think they're there right now. Ooh, but my kits are on Massdrop, so if you guys want any of the kits for cheaper, and including my new Beagle and Llama kits, those are on Massdrop in the quilting area right now. All right, so I'm going to sew. I'm not going to sew all the way to the end. I'm going to stop a 1/4 inch in. So I don't want to sew to the end. Again, I'm stopping a 1/4 inch in, and then I'm going to back tack it there again. So I'm approaching the 1/4 inch, and I think maybe one more. I think about there is our 1/4 inch. And now I got to take it completely off the machine. So let's grab a scissors, get the little blue scissors, blueberry scissors today. Okay, now I'm gonna rotate the whole quilt, so this is now the top edge. I want my new edge to be on the side like this, so bear with me while I rotate this giant quilt here. Getting it all back on my my TV tray. That's to my left. That's been super helpful, my TV tray. All right, oops, sorry for the bright light up there. We'll cover that up soon. But what we want to do now is, maybe this will help a little bit. No, we need that on. I'm going to get some slack. I'll go down a little bit here. I'm going to get some slack in my my binding here. I'm almost up to the end here again, so just unroll a little bit. All right, so now this is at the top, and I have my new edge on the side here, right? So I'm going to point my binding that's not attached to anything yet. I'm going to point it straight up like that. And by doing that, I get this 45-degree angle. Here, I'm gonna go up so you guys can see a little bit better. All right, so straight up like this. You can even put a little crease in there. So now it should be like one long straight line of the binding. See, so just right like that. Then I am going to now fold it down, fold the binding down. I'm keeping that 45-degree angle there, and I'm folding it down so that that top fold is in line with the edge there. So right like that. So underneath I still have that 45-degree angle, and now I have this fold on top. So now I'm going to put it back in the machine right at, you know, a 1/4 inch in, because we're sewing a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and then a 1/4 inch from the top as well. So right about there is where I want to start. And we're going to start by back tacking again. So a little forward and a little back. And then we'll just, we'll continue along this edge. So let me get you settled here. All right. So 1/4 inch or so in, a little further in, I think about right there. Couple stitches, back tack a couple stitches, and then you are off again. So now we're going on the next straightaway, next straight line. So that's all there is to it. That's the start of our perfect little mitered corner. It's a little goofy, but once you get the hang of it, it makes sense. I know, Susan, it is almost done. I could not put down the Splendid sampler. I couldn't put it down after I took it out again. I just had to do a few little bits on the border and then the binding, and I'm like, oh, let's just crank this puppy out. So yeah, we are getting there. We'll get this entire binding sewn on tonight, I'm hoping. And then tomorrow I will start hand stitching it. And then I might just hand stitch it on my own, and I'll show you guys when it's done. But I want to show you a little bit of the hand stitching. All right, so I have, before I forgot, I quick and ran and got a penguin and fish label. I got these cute little labels made a long time ago, and I'm gonna sew one of those in, and I just kind of picked right here, so I put a wonder clip there. I'll still probably put a label on the back so I can date it and all that, but I always like putting a little penguin and fish label in too. So we're going to just sew right over that, and that will attach it to the quilt. It's on the front of the quilt here. And keep going then. Dealing with a lot of bulk to my left here, so I might have to readjust soon. Yep. Time to scooch things along. All right, yeah. It'll be nice not to have to deal with all this heft anymore by me. I'm definitely liking sewing the teeny tiny things better. I don't have to deal with these giant things by me. Oops, sorry, I bumped you guys. I just threw my binding on the ground. I don't have a nice binding spool that it was on this time, so it's getting a little twisted, so I just threw it on the ground. Yep, I'm hoping this will go on the bed, although it's getting super warm. So we're trying to leave the windows in the bedroom as or open as long as we can before it gets just too hot that we have to close them. We don't get much cross air there, so maybe this will probably stay off the bed until we get the air conditioner in, and then maybe we'll put it on there again because we'll need to be warmed up again. It's so annoying to have the air conditioner in. I just wish we could sleep with the windows open, but it just gets so hot. So as I'm going along here, I'm really making sure, like I'm feeling to make sure that this back fabric doesn't get like folded back or, you know, tucked under or anything, because then that's going to mess up our sewing. I always have to make sure that I have the three layers there. And, you know, a lot of people, like I said yesterday, would do a zigzag stitch on here first, because that would prevent the opportunity for that to get tucked under, but I decided to skip as many steps as I could, so I could just get this thing sewn. And maybe I should have, maybe I should have done a little bit of those extra steps, but well. And we just changed the bobbin when we were working on the back or the border of this a little bit. So I'm hoping the bobbin will stick with us this whole entire binding. Just adjusting again. It's a big queen size quilt. Needs a pile of adjusting here. Okay, back to it here. Whenever I adjust, I make sure that the needle is down, because that needle being down is what's holding our last stitch in place. Otherwise, it might slide all over underneath here. They should do a show on Royal Needlepoint Folies. I wonder if anyone in there does any crafting. You think it'd be part of the, like, tradition of it all, you know? I don't know, who knows? I would read a book about the royal family and their crafting. Wouldn't you? I think that'd be awesome. There's got to be some history of crafting there. Yep, I would read that. I'm thinking that'd be super popular. All right, we're approaching, we're not there yet, but we're getting to the next, oh, I keep hitting this. We're getting to the next corner here. So this is kind of falling a little bit. All right, let's try it right there. So I'm probably not going to watch any part of the wedding at all. I'll watch it through other people's Instagram and Facebook accounts, probably. Oh, well. First of all, I think it's on NBC, and we don't get that channel very well. But yeah, I don't know. I just want to see the dress, and that's it, really. I'm sure that will be plastered everywhere afterwards. Ooh, you'd love to see a video of the folks that make the wedding dress. Yeah, that would be cool, Adrienne. Oh gosh, yeah, hand embroidered. Every once in a while, I think it's Chanel that posts a lot of it, but some of those like couture houses do behind the scenes videos sometime, and you know, they're beautifully edited, they're like little movies, but they'll show some people doing all the beading and all that, and it's just so fascinating. I love it. All right, I'm going to the 1/4 inch again. I'm stopping with a 1/4 inch to spare. I think about right there. Yeah, fine. All right, then taking this off the machine. Oh, you think CBS is gonna do something too? I'm sure I'll see all the goodies. I don't need to watch the whole thing. I don't know. I guess I'm just not as into that. All right, so I'm rotating the quilt again, which is a huge kind of pain in my little space here. Okay. There, so now I have this going at the top again. And we are going to lift the binding straight up again. Straight up, so that raw edge is all one big line here. And we get that 45-degree angle. Just give that a little crease. And then straight down, aligning that top edge, that fold top edge. So there we go, and we will get it back in the machine. And again, we're going to start a 1/4 inch down and a 1/4 inch over. I think about right there. And forward 1 or 2 stitches and back 1 and 2 stitches, and then forward again, and we're good to go for another row here. Get the little... Oh, you think CNN and PBS are showing it too? Okay, it's going to be everywhere, I guess. Actually, I think I saw a thing where Will Ferrell and Molly Shannon are going to... Was that Netflix? I think they might be streaming it live on Netflix, and they're dressed up as, like, weird broadcaster characters. That would be kind of fun to watch, maybe. Don't know. We'll see. Saturday it's on? Maybe Saturday I'll throw that on in the background. Maybe that'll be the day that I work on my jean quilt a little bit. Someone suggested, oh, the thing called the Supreme slider. So I've heard of that before, but I've also heard, that reminds me, I gotta get this checked out. I also heard that if you have your feed dogs up while you use the Supreme slider, that it can eat it up a little bit. And on this machine right now, my feed dogs won't drop, they won't go down. So I think I may have to bring this machine in again. But that's going to be okay, because I think before I get to the free motion quilting of the Charming Chevrons quilts, I think we will do a little embroidery project and a little sewing project. And if I don't have the machine back yet, I can use a different machine. That might be a fun time to try and use one of these new old machines. Oh, so much bulk. All right. And the bulk is actually catching stuff on my wall over here, so I'm keeping an eye on it so it's not dumping stuff everywhere. Oop, I got a little thread over here. Let me trim that. Oh, make it so. Yeah. Gretchen says, make sure I wear my new t-shirt to the sewing machine place when I drop it off. My shirt that says, make it so. Oh, that'd be funny. Oh, man, it's just stuck on the table here. Oh, wow. In Australia, the Supreme slider is $80. Sheesh. I'm not sure my sewing machine guy would care. He's pretty stoic. He's there to get the job done, and that's that. Oh, so you're not a huge fan of the Supreme slider. Oh, my table actually moved a little. There we go. Yeah, I think because I have my extension table here, I think this extension table takes care of the slipperiness. Like, it's very slippery. It's moving just fine. I think maybe the Supreme slider is maybe if you have your machine like sunk into a table. And then, you know, and then you're really on your tabletop, and your tabletop might not be as slippery. So you might want a Supreme slider or something in that case. I don't think I actually need one with my extension table. You free motion quilt fine without it, Marianne? That's what I'm hoping too, that I can just free motion quilt fine without it. I'd at least like to learn without all the gadgets. So I am really liking like testing out new gadgets and stuff. But I like that you can do a lot of this stuff without all the gadgets. You know, I can free motion quilt without these in theory. I can just use my hands, but you know, some things just make it a little easier. But I'd at least like to try without the gadgets too. So we'll try a little bit without the grippets and that sort of thing. But I don't know. We'll just see how it goes. If it becomes clear that I need some sort of surface underneath here, then I'll look into it. But yeah, or put the clear contact paper down or something. But I'm only going to do that if it ends up that I really need that. This is the third row. Yeah, we got one more full row to go, I think. It's just so bunched up that I'm having a hard time keeping it flat. So we're just going little by little, but I'm still hoping that we will get this all done today. Or at least the sewing on of the binding. Yeah, I think you're right, Noeline. If it comes to that I need something like the Supreme slider, I think I'll research a DIY one first. But again, I think with this extension table, I don't think I'm going to need it so much. The antique quilts were all made without the gadget. There you go, exactly. That's what I love. I love that antique quilts. I mean, you're right. They weren't made with all these gadgets, and I love that. You know. Well, and a lot of them were just done by hand too. So there's that. But yeah, maybe for the antique ones, they weren't doing all the free motion quilting. But I don't know, maybe. Why not? If they have a straight stitch machine, you should be able to do it with that. Woo! He does, Tim Latimer does fabulous free motion quilting using a treadle. He's on YouTube. That sounds amazing, Marianne. I mean, that's what I was just thinking. I'm like, I have my husband's great-grandmother's Singer sewing machine out now, and I have it out so I can just sew a few scraps together, you know, every day when I'm just need a moment. And I was thinking today, yeah, you could totally free motion on that. All you need is, you know, to lower the feed dog somehow, and you know, really, you could probably do it without that, too. All right, I'm coming up to this corner. That means I'm stopping at that 1/4 inch mark again. I think one more stitch will do. All right, off the machine, and we got to do that little rotatey deal again. Oh, I did, Bonnie. I talked about that a little bit yesterday. So I did buy a whole pile of stuff from that warehouse sale. So on Saturday, my husband and I went to the Faribault woolen mallet. Ooh, I actually brought some of it out. So we got like 3 blankets that look like just old school, like horse blankets almost. So we got them, one's just on our couch and one's on our bed. But I did get, let me see if I can grab some of it. All right, so I did get a whole pile, let me just show you guys, a whole pile of remnants. So not only did they have blankets, they had remnants too. So this is like a remnant from, you know, one of these, you know, shawls or something. So, you know, it's going to have like a decorative edge or something. So this is just a remnant. I got a whole bag of this, and it's just this really pretty plaid. And I thought I'd make some kits out of it. So, you know, for a while I was making these little zipper pouches and, you know, cute little fabric on the inside, and I did a little machine embroider on it. I thought it'd be fun to do a version of this, maybe a little wider, and with a hand embroidery pattern. So instead of the machine embroidery, we could do like hand embroidered little leaves or like a name or little animals. I'm not sure yet, but I thought it would be fun to put a kit together to basically make this, but with hand embroidery instead. So I got a whole pile of this wool, like a ton of it, a whole giant bag of it. And I thought it'd be fun I would cut it up so you have all the pieces for a kit, and then it would come with like an embroidery pattern and stuff, and then instructions, and we do it on here and stuff. So anyway, keep an eye on that for the future. Just like a super duper simple pouch, but with really nice wool fabric, like super duper nice. So anyway, got a whole ton of this, just remnants. You know, remnants meaning they didn't have enough, or there was a little something wrong with it or something. So they never made it into the shawl. But oh man, it smells good and it flows really nice. Got a whole giant bag of that. So that's one of the things. Here, I'll keep you guys up here while I rotate this. That's one of the things I got there. So that's actually the only non-blanket thing I got. So they had a ton of other stuff too. They had like yarn on spools, like spools this big, you know, like a cone of yarn like that. So, you know, my embroidery floss, that big cone of embroidery floss, it was like 3 times that size. I almost bought one of those, but I didn't quite know what I was going to do with it, and it's a pretty bulky item, so I just let it be. All right, I rotated it, so our lining, our binding is on the top there again, and I'm going to lift this straight up. Hold that all in place here. So again, we got that 45-degree angle, and the edge is straight up, straight parallel to that edge, and then folding it down, straight down, so the edges align again, and the fold is right on that top. So there we go. Let's sew that again. Again, we're starting 40, or not 45, we're starting a 1/4 of an inch down and over. I think that looks decent. And we'll stitch forward a couple stitches, and then back, and then forward, and we're good to go again. That's true, it could have been another mascot. You're right, I could have just had it sit behind us just because it's wacky and cool. In the end, though, I think I was just getting sticker shock because I was not intending on getting all those blankets. I mean, I'm super happy that I got the blankets now, but I was like, oh man, I can't add this weird cone of yarn for no reason. And I've been trying to reduce all the stuff in the house, and just, I mean, the blankets are usable and they're flat, but this cone was just this huge 3-dimensional object that would have to sit somewhere. So I think that's what made me not get it. However, if they do this whole warehouse sale again sometime, I think I'll get yarn next time because I kind of miss it. that I didn't get any. All right, this is our last side. We have one more corner to do, and then like, you know, a couple inches to sew, but then we will do this miter, and that's kind of like the magic part of finishing this binding. And I can tell that my binding is kind of coming to an end on the roll. So I'm really, really hoping that there's enough binding. I think it would be very odd if we measured wrong last time when we actually worked on this binding. So my guess is we have enough binding. It's just making me nervous. Oh, I know, I could have needle punched with all that yarn for sure. So many things I could have done with it. But yeah, I don't know. There were so many colors too, and oh man. Now I wish I got some, but well. It's only about a half hour away. I'm sure, I'm on their newsletter now, on their email list, so I'm sure they'll let me know when they're having another warehouse sale, and I'll have to do a little drive down there again. Get more yarn. Get more remnant fabric. Get more blankies. Ooh, I want to make sure this underside is still coming. Yeah, you'd really laughed if you saw the size of this cone of yarn. Nolene, I was just actually thinking about that in the back of my head. Nolene says maybe they have some left from over the weekend that they would sell you. They probably have some left because most people weren't looking at that, and the sale didn't last very long. I'm still trying to hold off just because of the size of it, though. But yeah, I don't know. It's tempting me in the back of my head to email them or something. But I think I got enough projects going on now. I'll wait till they have another warehouse sale. They must do it like at least once a year. So I'll just wait patiently. I'm in the getting things done first. Ha! Maybe the hub snuck and got one for me. I don't know. I kept my eye on him. He was in the rug buying mode. I had to keep an eye on him so he didn't buy, not rug, the blanket mode. So he didn't buy a million of those blankets. They were all, it was awesome though, because they were all like less than wholesale prices because there was something wrong with all the blankets. They told you on there what was actually wrong, but most of them were just not cut the right size. So I was saying this yesterday. So instead of the blanket being like 90 inches by 90 inches, it'd be like 87 inches by 95 inches or something, you know? So that's the only thing wrong, is that the size is a little off from what they sell in their store. So I'm like, psh, that's awesome. But yeah, they're all kind of below wholesale pricing. You knew a little old lady that made quilts really cheap. They're not fancy, but if you bring her a blanket, she would use that as batting. Oh, and make a quilt for you for $35. Wow, that's nice. Yeah, it was a second sale. So it was half a second sale, Nolene. So like half of it was like blankets that like were seconds that weren't quite up to par. and then the other half was just raw goods. So, well, not raw goods, but like my remnants. There were remnants, and then like the raw goods, like the yarn. They were even selling the giant spools, like these huge spools that they'd wrap the blankets on while they have them on the big machines, or that they'd wrap yarn. They would be cool, like antique looking pieces, but and I thought they were awesome. I'm trying to reduce the amount of stuff we have in here because we're overflowing in our house here. I gotta stay away from bulky items until we at least, get rid of some furniture or something. But they would be cool, like interior design pieces, these giant spools. They were selling leather remnants there too. It was fun. Oh my God, you guys, look! This is the end. So we don't actually have enough, we don't have enough binding by about, look, here's the end here. So we are about a foot shy of the thread, the amount of binding that we need. Let me look here. So I happen to have some binding from before. So remember when we made that what is that? The hourglass quilt? This is so stupid. So we measured wrong, or I measured wrong when we did this last time. So but anyway, remember the hourglass quilt? I happen to have a little binding here from that. I think I might use it on here. It'll be like the little mistake. It almost blends in. And I'm going to just use it for this last corner. Oh gosh, I can't believe it. So I'm going to actually take it off the machine here. We'll just backstitch a little bit. I know, so close. Pam, I have no idea. I do not know how we managed to mess this up. Boo! So, all right, first of all, we need to connect these two guys. We're just going to deal with it like this. And actually, this is getting awfully close to the corner too, so I might actually trim it a little bit more up here, although we don't have a whole lot. Let's make sure we have enough of this. So if I start it here, go to the corner and over, yeah, we'll have enough. So I'm going to actually trim this up a little higher. Boo! All right, so I'm just cutting, at a 90-degree angle again. I'm just shortening it because I don't want the fold to be right by the corner here. Yep, we're doing a quick design alteration. So all right, let's open both of these so that right sides are together and the right side is where that fold is up. And I usually make 2.5 inches. Sometimes people make 2 1/4 inch bindings, but I usually do 2.5. So these should be, let's double check. Yep, these are, yeah, both the same. So I'm going to just lay one on top of the other here so that when we fold it up, it'll be right. Yep. Okay, so I'm just going to eyeball this. Get the quilt out of the way. So I'm just going to go corner to corner. Boo! Ah, well. I actually kind of like these weird things that happen with quilts. Like I like when we have these little design features. Let's call it that. All right. I'm just gonna snip that. All right, so now if I fold it this way, yep, we should be good to go again. Yep, so here's going to be our new miter. So I just want to check it before I cut this off. So I don't need all this bulk anymore. So let's trim that with a 1/4 inch seam allowance with my little baby scissors here since that's what I have out. All right. Now we should be back in business. We just have to flatten it like that, and if we just plumb it, then we are back on that fold again. So, all right, let's get around this corner and finish this binding. Man, I thought I was looking pretty tight at the end there, but I figured we had enough. Don't know how I did that. Sheesh. Oh well. Taking care of it. All right, here we are. Well, this green binding has been just sitting over here for a while, and it's just in the back of my head. What am I going to use that for? So, glad we're using it up too. There, I'm using up all the things. It's all working out. Well, I just happened to have it within arm's length, so that kind of sealed the deal. I know, let's get it done tonight, exactly, Bonnie. All right, I'm stopping a 1/4 inch from the edge again here. All right, let's take this thing off again. Sheesh. Oh, I can sign and date the green. Ooh, I like that idea. Do the stitching in the green here. All right, so before we do this part, I just want to show you, we do have, this is that bottom edge. So this is where we started. I want to sew at least up to here. I'm going to actually sew a little ways over. So I'll probably sew to maybe here, and then we'll have this, then I'll overlap it, but we'll have still like this foot gap or so. That should be good enough for us. But yeah, I'm actually maybe I'll just mark it too, so I know when to stop sewing. We're gonna stop sewing right here. I think we'll still get some crossover. Yeah, that's what we're gonna do. So I'm gonna sew the green till there. So we still need to do that flippy up thing. See, I just have enough of this too. Flip up. Get that corner in there. Now you can probably see a little bit easier when it's not the blue on blue. But yeah, so we flipped it up, and this edge is going straight up, and that gives us that 45-degree angle. And once we have that 45-degree angle, we are going to flip it back down. We're going to I'm holding that 45-degree angle right here. And I'm going to get this going along the edge again, but I'm folding it up at the top right there. So the top fold aligns along that top edge. And let's just hold that there. And we will start that 1/4 inch down and 1/4 inch over. About right there. Back tack that. All right, and then I'm going to sew up to that point that I marked. And I just marked that so we still have that big gap, but we do have some overlap between both of the ends. So I want those two things. I know. Well, Susan says, I like how it doesn't take you a second to say, I'll just add this green binding. Not everyone would feel so free. Well, one thing, I feel like I have a little leeway in this quilt since we sort of improv pieced the whole back of it. So the idea of improv piecing is already kind of a theme a little bit in this quilt. And I don't have this exact green in this quilt, but we do have other little bits of green. And, you know, it's almost the same value as this blue. So I don't think your eye is going to just be totally taken away. Like versus if I did it like bright pink or something, like a light pink, I think your eyeball would go right to it. But it's a little hidden. And I just like that I'm, you know, using up stuff again. So, all right, I'm doing a little back tack here again. And we are going to take this off the machine again. So this is where we get to do some of the magic. Yep, I started a 1/4 inch down at the corner. So here's the corner close up, you guys. So here you can see a 1/4 inch down. So I sewed this way a 1/4 inch. I stopped a 1/4 inch before I got to the back. Then I folded it up. And then downward again. Folding it up got me this 45-degree angle underneath here. And then folding it down so the fold was up at the top. And then I started that 1/4 inch, and you can actually kind of see it on the fold here. So that's good. That's what's going to give us, you know, we got all this extra here, but that's what's going to give us when we flip it around. That's what's going to give us this pretty mitered corner. So kind of like that a little bit. There, so we got that nice little angled corner on both sides. So that's why we do it that way. That's the trick of the mitered corners. Okay, so let's deal with this now. I'm gonna actually rotate it this way a hair. And get this flat. So I want to overlap these two pieces. And actually I'm going to kind of go so I'm right, here's my gap, like here's where both of them stopped. I'm going to kind of get it so they're overlapping right in the center. So I'm going to just trim this piece about right here. Okay, and I can actually use this piece that I just trimmed. I want to overlap it the exact same width of my unfolded binding. So if you did a 2 1/4 inch one, you would do 2 1/4 inches overlap. If you did 2 1/2 like I did here, you do 2 1/2. And a great way to do that is with my extra little bit here. I can just open it up. It's stuck. There, so this is my exact width. So I can just kind of like lay this down here. This is flat against the edge. I'm laying it down at the end, and I'm going to just lay this over the top. There we go. Make sure it's flat. So that's where my 2 1/2 inch overlap is. So I can just cut just the green. I'm not cutting through both. I'm just cutting the green on that overlap line. So now, now I can get rid of this, but now we should have that 2 1/2 inch overlap. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna open up this guy, and I always kind of get this wrong, so we're gonna have to do a little test. But first I like to give it some slack. So we have this space in between here. Just move the ends together a little bit more. But with the top, I'm going to just open that up. So the front of the fabric, and remember I'm using a solid, but if you're using a pattern fabric, you know, the pattern side would be up. I can tell that it's the front because the fold is going towards me. So I have that kind of like horizontally. And I'm going to open this guy up now. There, like that. So this is the right side, and I'm going to put the right sides together. And this is where I always kind of mess up. So in theory, now I just sew along this edge, but I'm going to just put a pin there to double check, because sometimes I feel like I do this backwards. But okay, let's pretend sew along this line. If I pretend sew along that line, when I fold it back up, oh yeah, we're going to be good. So perfect. So again, I'm going to show you guys that again. And it'll all make sense soon here. So I'm going to open up the the green one. So the right side is up and it's going like in this horizontal position. Then vertically, I'm going to open this guy up. There's that right side. I'm going to put the right sides together, just like we're sewing two strips together. Just like what I did sewing the green and blue strip together 2 seconds ago. This is where you really want this slack here, because the quilt just wants to move everywhere. All right, so I'm going to put those two ends together. And now we're going to just sew on that diagonal again. So let's see if I can do that without pinning. There we go. Let's just scooch down here. Give it a go. Just trying to get it as flat as I can, and I need that slack to do that. That's why I have that big gap here, is because it gives me slack. It gets real difficult if you don't have that slack to work with to sew these guys together. All right, let's just get this started on the corner here. And just back tack it a little. All right, now I'm gonna get this all in place again here. And you can draw a line, you can pin this. I'm just aiming for the diagonal again. Right there. Let's just put a little back tack in there. Okay, and we'll do our little test of this. I just love this way of doing a binding. It is just kind of magic. But yeah, so here, let's get a little higher. So I've sewn those two together. Now if I just pull on it, it will just all fold up. And look, now all we have to do is sew along that edge. So there's our perfect little corner. I double check before I cut, but yeah, we don't need all this slack in here, or all this bulk in here. So now that I've checked, I'm gonna just trim that to the 1/4 inch, like how we did, like I said, 2 seconds earlier when we sewed the green to the blue. And now we just refold it along our pressed line, and it should lay perfectly flat at the perfect, like it should lay perfectly flat edge with the edges along our edge. There shouldn't be any slack to it really. It's just the exact size we need for the gap. So now I just need to start here where our gap is, sew all the way to where this other gap ends, you know, because we got this gap here yet. And that is that, but look how fancy. It's just magic. There's other ways to attach the two bindings together, but this is the most magical. And man, a lot of times I like doing the magical way of doing it just because it's magical. It's more fun. It brings a little bit more joy to doing a binding, I think, so why not keep going with it? But yeah, now I'm just sewing down that edge. Easy peasy. It is confusing, so after you do it a few times, like watch this part of the video again if you need to, but after you do it a few times, it starts to make sense. But if I don't do a quilt for a long time, sometimes I have to look it up again. So don't feel bad if you have to do that too. All right, I just back tacked it once I got to where it's sewn already, once I was done with that gap. And that is our crazy binding here. So that was that gap that we just filled, and we are good to go. So tomorrow we'll start hand stitching the back. So we've sewn this onto the front. And the way we're going to do this is by hand stitching the back. There's ways so you don't have to do all the hand stitching, but I like the hand stitching. So what we're going to do is fold. Here's our binding. We got the raw edge there. We're going to fold it over our raw edge like so. And then by hand stitching, we are going to just tack down that binding to the back, and that's all there is to it. Exactly. Ta-da! That is the deal. So tomorrow we will start sewing on this binding, and I do want to make sure, we'll probably start, it doesn't matter where you start really, but I'm going to start probably close to a corner. So I might start like right here, because then I can show you what you do as you approach a corner. Like, how do you flip this over and get the miter just right? We'll go over that a little bit. But yeah, so that is the plan for tomorrow. Maybe we'll start on the other side so we can get that green corner done first, just because it's just super silly. So maybe we'll start like right here tomorrow, flip that over, and start stitching that down. But we are so freaking close to having this done. I can't stand it. It's awesome. I'm so happy that we're about there. So all right, guys, I'm going to flip you around, and we will call it an evening. Thanks for staying with me a few more minutes tonight. Yeah, so a little over an hour, but we got that done. You know, even with that hour, we were able to add that little extra weird binding. So I know, Nolene, so I am with you. I love this corner too. Sometimes it's those weird little bits that end up being like the most fun parts. It's just this tiny little L. Can you imagine? Like, we didn't have like 24 inches of binding we need. Not even, that's like 18 inches. Yeah, maybe about 24 inches. We were 24 inches shy. I don't know how we managed that, but it worked, and that's totally going to be my favorite spot on here too. All right, guys. Thanks again for joining me. I will get this up on YouTube at Penguin and Fish Movies. If you want to go all the way to the end and watch how we did this, the seam, finishing the binding here, that final like weird gap and putting it together. If you want to go over that again, just zoom to the end of this video on YouTube at Penguin and Fish Movies, and that will be that. And we'll probably do it. Well, I don't know if we're going to do it this way for the charming chevrons. I think we're going to do a different way to do the binding. But yeah, this is fun. So hand stitching tomorrow, and we're going to get this guy done. We probably will only hand stitch for a day or two, and then I'll just do the rest on my own and show you the finished one. Then we can get quilting on the Charming Chevrons quilt again. So awesome. See you guys tomorrow evening. Have a great night.